Jack Arute, one of the complaints in the drivers' meeting this morning was Bobby Rahal's concern with how rough it is.
Well, your head bounces back and forth, even with new aerodynamic helmets. Remember, these are open cockpit cars.
Al Unser Jr., who was running in 13th place, is the first to make a pit stop here today. Other teams now beginning to lay out. This is on Little Al's 34th lap. He is already a lap down to the leaders.
He is a previous winner here, but not overly competitive so far today. His teammate Danny Sullivan out with the flu, not in the race.
Originally, they had intended perhaps that Adrian Fernandez would drive the car, but he got in trouble once during practice against the wall, and I think wisely decided to just hold that car out for another opportunity in the future. Roberto Guerrero makes his stop.
One of the things that's happened to the Lola cars, Paul, is the bell housings. The housing between the engine and the transmission was breaking on the Lolas. About 2 weeks ago, it's been rumored that the factory knew that they were having bell housing problems, but they failed to tell all the mechanics. There's Tracy coming in for a pit stop.
Let's go to Jack Arute.
And Paul, they make a major adjustment on the front wing, as they also will change all 4 tires. They took it looked to be about a turn up on both the right and the left side of the front wing. Chasing the racetrack all day. Let's check in with Gary Gerald.
Mario Andretti, the first of the Newman Haas drivers to come in, the man who set the record from the pole, not expecting any changes. Routine stop with fresh rubber and fuel. He's rolling in just under 14 seconds. Now we wait for Mansell.
And Mansell is on the pit road. He turned the last lap before this one at 225 miles an hour. And he turns in toward Gary.
And Paul, he comes in very slowly, being very cautious. Remember, this whole business of many pit stops in a race still somewhat new to Mansell. A very conservative approach. The team going through their usual chores. Again, there'll be no changes here. They talked about a wing change.
Mansell catches a break, Gary. Mansell catches a break. The yellow is out. Stefan Johansson spun it in the 4th turn, got it up against the wall. Safety crews are already there, but Mansell was in the pits as the yellow came out.
Well, this is the thing that's really going to change things. When you have a yellow coming out on a 2-mile track like this, under the green flag when everybody's in the pits, boy, I'll tell you what, it's going to cause a lot of rethinking on the pit stops.
Pit speed limit today, 110 miles an hour. They'll give you 5. If you get to 115, they're going to stop and go you for a penalty. Let's go to Jack Arute.
Well, Paul, that may be a break for Emerson Fittipaldi. He was scheduled to come onto pit road at that very lap. Saw the spin by Lynn St. James. Chuck Sprague and the crew radioed for him to stay out. Now they will be able to make their pit stop under the luxury of the yellow.
And Fittipaldi was very close to going a lap down. You saw Stefan Johansson is out of the car, obviously uninjured. They work on that car now. We have the first yellow flag at Michigan International. 38 laps are in the record book, and to this point, they've averaged 216 miles an hour. We'll be right back. Tonight, Billy Ray Cyrus brings his achy breaky heart to America's Funniest Home Videos, followed by America's Funniest People. And then Clint Eastwood is back in the line of fire as Dirty Harry in the Deadpool, the Sunday night movie tonight on ABC. Well, we're still under yellow at Michigan International Speedway as a result of an accident involving Stefan Johansson. He is out of the car, reported uninjured. They're still trying to get the car off of the race course. On the super speedways, IndyCar teams must reconfigure not only the setup of the race car itself, but some also change the equipment worn by the driver. Gary Gerald has a full explanation.
At speeds of well over 200 miles per hour, the air that comes streaming up over the front cowling and over the windscreen into the cockpit creates a tremendous amount of buffeting around the driver's head. There's a new helmet design that's found favor among many of the drivers who are competing here in Michigan today. Here's an example of the helmet, this one worn by Bobby Rahal. They've addressed the buffeting problem in 3 critical areas. The first is this lip that protrudes down here in front. It creates downforce, much like a front wing, pushes the helmet down, keeps the air from getting underneath and wanting to lift on the driver's head. Second area, a subtle change, a patented design contour up here on top that aerodynamically also combats that lift factor. And the third area has to do with this wicker bill, much like you find on the rear wing of the race car. This helps create downforce, but perhaps more significantly, back in this position, it keeps a buildup of air from building here behind the driver's head and instead attaches the stream of air to the side of the car and it trails right on back. Now, what does that all do at these high speeds? Well, with that buffeting, the driver's head is bouncing just like this. Now, because of these factors, it's a very stable ride here with his head. That means he can see much better, and it also means that that lift factor greatly reduces the amount of fatigue and stress that's placed on his neck.
I'll tell you, at this place, fatigue and stress are critical. So now Nigel Mansell under the yellow has the lead of the race. Emerson Fittipaldi picked up a great advantage on that stop. He was almost going to go a lap down. We'll be right back with more from the Michigan 500. Back at Michigan International, they're doing extensive work under the yellow on Lynn St. James' car, but she remains with that machine. 9 cars on the leader lap. Some people picked up an advantage with that yellow, Bobby.
Well, it takes a lap if you pit under the green, no matter how fast your pit stops are. And a lot of the guys pit a little bit early, or the yellow came out right during when everybody's going to start coming in. So, for example, Fittipaldi and Boisel gained a tremendous advantage. They're way up, and whereas Tracy, even though he's in the serial, looks in to be number 1 right now, he's almost a lap down. So he lost on the shuffle because he came in a little bit too early.
Situations developing during the pit stops, and an update from Jack Arute.
Well, Paul, a very lucky break for Emerson Fittipaldi because that caution came out. He had taken some debris and a puncture right through the tire. Look what happens when you get a tire going down at 230 miles an hour. Just ripped it to shreds. With small debris going that fast, you can make a hole that big in one of these tires. Let's go back up to you.
Well, boy, Paul, he picked up almost a lap from LeLuc, and look at that width at the tire that was absolutely torn apart. That could have saved Emmo's day for him. This man right here, Paul Tracy, though, he suffered from it. He's in a bad position right now. He's going to have a lot of distance to make up. But remember, this is not the team's fault. Nobody knows the yellow is going to come out when it comes out.
You don't think luck plays a role in automobile racing? Also, there's a very long way to go, remember. A 500-mile race offers many opportunities to sort out the things we've just had happen.
250 laps here. You see we're at the 43rd lap, the first yellow of the day, caused when Raul Boisel got into the wall, apparently alone in turn 4. Nigel Mansell, very light load of fuel, cut a lap at 225 miles an hour just before the pit stop. IndyCar has just announced their new schedule, and here it is for next year, so you can begin booking hotels, getting your tickets, and making arrangements for the 1994 schedule. Season, of course, ends October 2nd next year at Laguna Seca, California. Did I say, I said Boisel involved in the accident, Bobby?
Yes, Paul, it was actually Johansson. I think you just accidentally called it Boisel. But
Boisel is running 3rd. Here's Buddy Lazier, who had an exceptionally fine qualifying, right up there with people that you would not expect him to have qualified alongside. He was in the same row as Al Unser Jr., who's won this race and is a former champion.
You can look at the water coming out. Could be fuel, but I hope it's water out of the left lower of Boisel. I hate to interrupt you there, Sam, but on Lazier's car, he's got something coming out of the back end of the car really bad.
Later today here on ABC Sports, more auto racing as we look at the back of Lazier's car, whatever it was. It looks like it has cleared up. The racing action will continue. It is the final round of the International Race of Champions. The champion will be determined in this 4th and final round, where the mechanical advantage is taken away and the drivers are what matters. Good race, too. I might tell you, run here yesterday at Michigan International. You ride with Nigel Mansell, the leader of the race. You can see there are other cars lined up in front of him. You look back from Al Unser Jr. now, and we'll take a look at Scott Goodyear's car as well, where they've done that repair that was suggested that they needed on that car. Let's go to Gary.
Stefan Johansson has just been examined by the doctors. You appear to be fine. Can you tell us what happened in that incident?
Well, I don't really know. The car was pushing really pretty good all the time, and all of a sudden, you know, it came into 3 and it just swapped ends on me.
When it happens at this racetrack at these speeds, it's usually very, very big, and I would imagine you got to feel fortunate that you can walk away from this incident.
Yeah, I think so.
Glad you're all right, Stefan. Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll get ready to go racing once again. We'll go back up to Paul.